All right, and we are live.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
What's up, Fred fam?
How's it
Welcome back
going?
to another CFN Livestream Party. If you've been getting our emails and checking our socials, then you know that today's stream is all about getting repartnered with YouTube. It looks like a few of you are still logging on. So we'll start off with some introductions and give everyone a chance to get on and, let you know who's on the call today. So I'll start. I'm Anira. I am the operations and community manager here at Frederator. I'm helping out with any of your network or YouTube related issues. So if you sent out a support ticket or support email within the past 6 months, we've probably talked. Um, I'm writing all of your newsletters. I am the host of your live streams. I'm like in charge of the entire application process for new channels, as well as helping you guys add some additional channels into the network. And I am on Discord under No Mercy Nears. So if you've gotten like a DM from me or seen a post or you've seen me like it, it's me. I'm No Mercy. um, yeah, so Andrew, you want to go?
Sure. My name is Andrea, and I am the Associate Director of Network Operations. So I work with Anira to just handle all the operations stuff. A big part of my job is making sure that everybody gets paid on time. So if you're not paid on time, it's probably my fault, but I try and make sure that everybody's paid on time so that doesn't happen. I also do help out with some support issues, yelling at YouTube. I do a lot of reporting. Sometimes I look at channels and see how they can improve and all of that fun stuff. I guess that's me.
And I'm Marley. I am the manager of talent and programming here at Channel Frederator. So I manage talent. I recruit some talent, and then when we produce our own in-house programming, I'm usually the one leading the charge on that.
Ooh. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that today's stream is going to be all about getting repartnered with YouTube. We've been getting a few messages and emails about channels that have either recently or previously fell under YouTube's partner program threshold, which means their channel lost monetization ability. We know how scary it is to get that email notification that says your channel is no longer eligible. And we also know that how scary it can be if you're not sure of the next steps. So today's stream is here to walk you through the process of what do I do next? But we're going to start off with a little history of the unlinking that started in, I believe it was 2018.
2018.
Yeah. Andrea, did you just want to start off with that?
Sure, I'll take it away. First off, another reason for this live stream is, yes, we have gotten some questions, but I believe it's also something that one or two people mentioned in one of our more recent feedback forms that we send around about every 3 months. You might have seen the emails, you might have clicked on them because we bribe people with a chance to win a $50 gift card. But if you're not filling those forms out, and you have the time, I've made it so it's really short. It takes under 5 minutes because everyone hates filling out long forms. But please do. Not only will you have a chance to win that gift card, but you will also be providing us with some really useful data that we can use to decide what live streams to do next, or maybe what tools we should look into, or just other ways that we can make the network better. But going back to demonetizations, demonetizing wasn't really a thing, or at least not a widespread thing, until February 2018, when YouTube decided to update its YouTube partner program requirements. And if you had a YouTube channel back in February 2018, I'm sure you remember this. We definitely remember it. I think that was probably the most support ticket work I have ever done in my time at Frederator. Because as per usual, YouTube didn't communicate terribly well about why this was happening and when it was going to happen. But the long and short of it is, most people probably know right now, if you've got a YouTube channel, there's requirements that YouTube instituted for monetization. And those requirements are 1,000 subscribers and also 4,000 hours. That's not minutes, that's hours of watch time. And it's over the past year. So that's not lifetime, over the past year. And in February 2018, if you did not meet those thresholds, you got demonetized. Now, we didn't think that people should get kicked out of the network for something that wasn't their fault. So we do have quite a few network members who aren't really making any money. They're not monetized, they're not in a CMS, but they still have, you guys still have access to the network dashboard, all our tools and services, the Discord, all of that fun stuff, because it's probably going to be easier if you want to get remonetized to do so using Frederator's tools and services. And we didn't want to penalize you for something that wasn't really your fault. Nobody knew about this. Since then, I think it was about 6 months later that YouTube started then demonetizing channels for things like duplicative content, reused content. We have all heard those words. I think we're going to go into them a little bit later. And then more recently, we've also seen channels again start to get dropped from the network because they once met those monetization thresholds, but they no longer do. So if you've got a small channel and you regularly hover around, say, those 4,000 hours of watch time over the past year, if you have a bad couple of months and you dip below that, it's possible that you can get released from our CMS. And we did update the FAQ section in the CFN dashboard, but what we do in situations like this, because again, we don't want to penalize anybody for things that aren't their fault, is I keep a record of all of those channels. As long as you are still active in the network, and that means that you're logging onto your dashboard at least maybe once every 2 months. When the dashboard thing says it can't remember your last login, then I will close your account, because we want to make sure that the people that we keep in are the ones that are active and they are taking advantage of those tools and services. But as long as you're active, if you get demonetized because you dropped below that threshold, you can stay in the network for as long as you want. Just keep logging in, keep talking to us, keep using our services. And of course, we would love to help you get remonetized, which is one of these things, the things that this live stream is about. Don't think there's really anything else there. Things are different if you got demonetized because of duplicative and reused content, but we can talk about that in a little bit. I was hoping Kenny would be here to talk about it because he's good at this stuff, but he seems to be running late, so we might have to move things around a little bit. Did I miss anything, Anira? Was that?
You did not. That was excellent. I know Kenny is running a little bit late. He said he would be hopping on. So, I mean, we can push the reasons for demonetization onto maybe a little bit later. We want to do that? Yeah, we'll do that. So then we'll go right into the next topic, which is how to requalify. Things like what is considered good content that will help your channel get remonetized. What should you do with your channel? Are there upload schedules that you should follow? Is there community engagement that you should start implementing? Andrea touched on this a little bit, but having the watch time and the subscriber requirement. What is all of that? Marley, did you want to take that one?
Sure. So the watch time requirement is 4,000 hours, and there's a school bus going by. Excuse me. And the subscriber count, the wonders of suburban New York, and the subscriber count is 1,000 subscribers. And I think depending on why you lost monetization, maybe you took an extended break and you dipped below, those. That watch hour requirement, or whatever other reason. When you reach that point where you can monetize again, I think the best thing to do is take a look inwards and see, what might have caused it and what can you do better. Maybe people started to not vibe with your content as much as they did when you first started. Maybe you just did the same thing for a really long time, and it's time to switch it up. Do research into your vertical of choice. If you're say a speed art channel, maybe just posting normal, speed art doesn't work anymore. Maybe there are new trends that are going on. I think a big thing is, everyone obviously wants to be unique and their own person and have their own creative vision. And obviously that's super important, but I think you also have to make certain concessions and realize that you need to play by YouTube's game sometimes. So if there is a particular trend that is really popular within your vertical, maybe try it out, put your own spin on it and see how that works. And just work to build back that goodwill that you may have lost for whatever reason. Obviously, being consistent is super important. I know that for a lot of the types of channels that we represent, be that art, animation, etc., being able to post weekly is pretty close to impossible. But try to be as consistent as you can. If you tell your audience, hey, I'm going to get an animation out once a month, get that animation out once a month. A big part of building a YouTube channel is that trust from your community. They want to know that they're going to see content from you when you say they're going to see it. So try your best to stick to it as best as you can.
Absolutely. And even piggybacking off of the, putting your own spin on the popular trends, I know for myself, and I'm sure I can speak for a lot of people, I like seeing the trending videos. I'll definitely look them up. But what I don't like to see is the carbon copy of everyone else's video. I like seeing, you title your video that goes with the trend, you tag it so that it's going along with the trend. But when I watch a video, I want to see your take on it. I want to see you saying yeah, I'm not going to do this like everyone else. I like that. And so do a lot of other people. They like seeing the individuality of it. They love that. And that's going to draw people more to your content because they're like, okay, this person's actually original. They're not just doing the same thing, right? So that was such a good point, Marley, about taking your own spin on the trending.
And ask your audience what they want to see. A lot of times you'll get people who are just supportive no matter what, but chances are within those comments you're gonna get a couple people that'll tell you hey, maybe you should try doing this, or I also watch this guy and he does things like this, maybe you should try something like that out. Your audience is a resource that they want you to succeed, so go to them when you can, if you feel that it's right. There are lots of good ideas in their heads that they're more than willing to offer up to you.
Yeah. Another thing that I do want to point out that I think, especially for smaller channels, or if you just took a long break and you're just getting back into the YouTube game, might not think about is, I've heard it, metadata is really, really important. Your content can be really good if your thumbnails are crap, and if your titles are not good, YouTube is not going to know that. And so you want to think of your metadata as talking to the YouTube algorithm instead of pandering is maybe not don't pander, but talk to it.
Its favor.
Yeah, pander a little. And the way that YouTube works changes over the years because the algorithm, I think it might update itself now. I think it's like a fully fledged living being at this point. I don't think that engineers have anything to do with it. They just set it and now it's mutated. But, there were a couple of years back, the rule was, I think, you want to create content that's this length and you want to have really long titles with all this extra information and keywords in there. And now the rule is you want clickable titles. You want titles that are geared towards the audience. So if you're still looking at making titles that are very, very long, that's not going to play with the YouTube algorithm anymore. So we do have, on our dashboard under the sports section, we've got a lot of guides on this that are pretty up to date. I think from the last VidCon, they're due for another re-update. Hopefully VidCon will be a thing this year and then we can get some more information. But that will help you. We've also got a guide for, I think, creating a release schedule. I think it's called Creating Your YouTube Strategy. YouTube strategy is in there. And that can also help you, for instance, if you're not sure, I know I need to release more content, but I also don't want to burn out. How do I create a schedule? So plugging some of our resources, those are some things you can look at. You can also reach out via a support ticket. We're always happy to look at channels, no matter the size, and give advice based on here's where we think you should go in terms of both your content and also how you present it to the YouTube world.
Absolutely. And then kind of transitioning from that, we can talk about the next step in this process here, which would be being qualified. So let's say you've gone through all the steps and you've reached your watch time, you've got the subscriber count, so you're qualified now. What do you do? First, give yourself a pat on the back and a round of applause because you are now eligible for monetization again, or eligible to apply for monetization again. But the first thing that you can do is reach out to us. As you know, we have a direct connection to YouTube. We have some contacts at YouTube. And when you are ready to apply and to submit your application, we can get that application fast-tracked. So instead of waiting, it was like normally like a week maybe to get a response back, we can get that response for you within a few days. If you maybe have some questions or just some concerns about your channel and you just want like that one last run through, reach out to us as well. We have no problem looking at your channel and giving you that like final stamp of approval before you do apply. But the big thing when you're qualified is to definitely reach out to us. We want to help you get monetized again as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. Did anyone else want to like add anything there?
No, I think you covered it. I do want to say, like, we can't really guarantee a few days. We can try and get a faster response, but it will depend on the people at YouTube in the end. And we push as much as we can, but sometimes they're better than other times. But we will be able to at least give you help and guidance, and we'll be able to annoy YouTube more than you would by yourself, which is something.
Absolutely. Let's see, did we get any questions? We did. So Animation Eddie wrote in, not really a question, but just kind of a, again, something to be proud of. He is a creator of stop motion, and he said that live streaming has helped his channel grow since stop motion tends to take a while to create and like finalize the production. So if there's any like stop motion creators watching the stream right now, that's definitely something to consider for your next video.
I think that applies to all animators.
Right, and that's true.
Or really anybody.
Yeah, if you're in a vertical that, it takes a long time to create the type of content you make, stuff like live streaming, having an active social media presence, just ways to keep your audience engaged when they're not getting content from you is going to be really important because it makes them care about you so that when you do finally release content, they kind of flood to it. You do, like with something like live streaming, you do want to be careful regarding, I would say, your VODs. I've seen a lot of times people will live stream and then they'll just think, oh, I can leave this up and it'll take the place of a video, not realizing that like, hey, people come to watch your like 3 to 5 minute long cartoons. They don't want to watch 2 hours of you playing Among Us. That's fun in the moment, but when they see that sitting there as a video, maybe they click on and realize what it is and they quickly click off, or they go somewhere else, or they just completely ignore it. And then that stands to hurt your main content, your cartoons when those come out. So that's just something to be aware of with live streaming.
Yeah, live streams are great because they will count towards your watch time, which is, again, something that if all your videos are pretty short, it might be hard to get that 4,000 hour mark, especially because it doesn't just add up. It carries over. So if you had a really good year 2 years ago, well, guess what? That doesn't matter now in terms of qualifying for the YouTube Partner Program. But if you release a video or multiple videos that are just live streams and your main audience base doesn't want to see those, it will hurt you with the YouTube algorithm. So remember, you can do live streams, but you don't have to make them public afterwards. You can always delete them or you can keep them private. And that way, you can get the benefits of a live stream without worrying about like, will this hurt my future uploads?
Right, and it looks like we got another question from Alessandro. So he asked, what are the latest updates to the YouTube algorithm? Great question.
I mean, it's kind of, like I said, I think at this point, it's an unpredictable beast. Like sometimes YouTube will start valuing some things, or they'll make like a conscious change. Like they might say, all right, well, here's a keyword that we don't want to promote videos with that keyword anymore. Like that's definitely a thing that will happen. But I think the algorithm is definitely something to be aware of. At this point, because it is such a beast, I think it's not something that you should be trying to game. And that kind of goes against what I said earlier about metadata and pandering to the algorithm. But it's kind of a both and situation. Like, you want to have good metadata. It works with the algorithm, but it also works with your audience. And I think that's where the algorithm kind of is now, is it's become sort of human itself. So you should treat it like an audience member, and you should make sure that everything in your video is it's clear, it's honest. And that's really the best way to make sure that the algorithm shows your video to the people that are going to be interested. You used to be able to game the system, like, you had people with misleading thumbnails. What was that, like 10 years ago? That was a thing in early YouTube. And then the long titles and compilations were a thing at one point, at least among the kids space, which is where I was at. But now I think it's really about treat it like a person. Put stuff in your metadata that a person viewer will appreciate, because the algorithm will as well. So those are my thoughts.
That was a great answer, Andrea.
I agree.
That brings us into our next topic point. I think everyone kind of touched on this throughout the stream so far, but the next point is, am I still a network member even though I've been demonetized? And we really, really want to stress the point that even though you have lost or temporarily lost monetization ability, you have not lost CFN ability. You are a member as long as you're using our dashboard. You are a member as long as you're following the guidelines. You're always going to be a CFN member. Our resources are here for you. If you haven't already taken a look, like Andrea mentioned, we have guides that talk about metadata, that talk about creating your YouTube channel strategy. They walk you through like social media and engaging with your own community. We have tools, Epidemic Sound. As you're working on your content and trying to become eligible again for monetization, these tools will really help you. They'll help bring your content from here to here. We just have a lot of resources. And then going on top of the resources, we also have the CFN team. We are always here as a helping hand via support tickets or support emails. So if you do have any questions about your channel, if you do want any assistance with channel issues or problems, we're here to help you. We have no problem answering your questions. We have no problem working with you to create a game plan. But we want you to know that being demonetized does not mean that you are not a CFN member, because you absolutely are. Just make sure you log in.
Yeah. That was mostly, I got to have a way of keeping track of these things. And, but yeah, it doesn't, like when people write in support tickets, we don't look and see how many subscribers they have before deciding whether or not to answer. Like you will get an answer. We want to help everybody, because if you grow, that's good for you and it's good for us as well. So please feel free to continue. If you get demonetized, if you drop below that threshold, please continue to take advantage of the resources that we provide. And I guess it doesn't seem like Kenny's going to be really late. Have you heard from Hemanira?
I haven't. I was just gonna say we might just go right into that last point we have, and then we'll, if we don't have any more questions, we'll just wrap things up.
Okay.
But did you want to add anything, Marley, before we move to the next point?
Nope, I'm all set.
Perfect. All right, so then that brings us into our last point for today's stream, which we're going to go over, the common reasons for demonetization and basically just addressing the question of why did I get demonetized? You want to take that, Andrea?
Sure. So I think we already covered, we dropped below the threshold. And when you drop below the threshold, like that's YouTube. It doesn't say anything about your content, except like maybe you need to make some changes to your content to get more viewers, but it doesn't mean that YouTube has a problem with your content. However, if you get demonetized because YouTube, you still met the thresholds, but YouTube just kicked you out, it's because they did have a problem with your content. We don't get this happening very often, but it still does happen occasionally. One of the most common reasons for people to get demonetized besides dropping below the threshold are if you have what's known as repetitious content and then reused content. And those are the two R's. So reused content, that's if you're using a lot of what YouTube calls third-party content. So that's stuff you didn't make and you're not adding anything to it. So if you review animations, like if you review Disney movies, this probably isn't applying to you. But if you upload a lot of content that's not yours and you're not really adding anything to it, then you're in danger of getting demonetized. And this is because YouTube is trying to encourage creators to, I guess, create, to add something of themselves to each video. If you're just basically re-uploading, even if it's something that's public domain, even if it's like a public domain cartoon from say the 1920s or the 1930s, and you're not going to get in trouble with copyright if you re-upload it, it doesn't mean that YouTube's going to let you monetize it because you didn't do any work on that. So YouTube is, I guess, trying to reward at least creative input, some kind of work, even if it's editing. So if you get demonetized for that reason, I mean, again, reach out to us. We do not kick out anybody from the network that gets demonetized immediately unless they've done something like really, really egregious. So don't do really egregious things. But if you think like my content should be monetizable, I edit everything myself, here's where I provide my original commentary, this is unique, and you get demonetized by YouTube, reach out to us because very often, YouTube makes you go through that 30-day waiting period afterwards. Often we can get you a second review sooner than that. If you do reach out to us, one thing that's really helpful that we're probably going to ask you for is we need an explanation from you as to why this is original content and should be eligible for monetization. So you can talk about the original editing. You can, if you have like licenses, say you review content from other YouTubers, but they've given you permission and you have documents proving that, that's great to send along. The more information, the better. A note that even if you have a license, again, if you're just re-uploading something straight, YouTube is still probably going to demonetize you. It's good to add something of yourself. And then the other reason is repetitious content. And this is something that we'll see. I'm trying to think of a good example. You have a lot of like lower quality kids channels that do this sort of stuff, like today we're coloring this thing with crayons. And that means that you can't tell the difference between each video, like they're all basically the same. YouTube doesn't like that. It looks like the videos were generated by machine, and in some of these channel chases, that actually is true. So again, we're not going to kick you out immediately if you get demonetized for that reason. Just reach out to us. We can either give you advice for, we'll look at your channel, and sometimes we might say like, yeah, you're using reused and repetitious content and YouTube's not going to do anything about this. Like they're not going to re-monetize you. You got to make some changes. If you get demonetized for those reasons, we will always recommend you use that 30 days to start uploading like new sorts of content, original content, content that has more editing or is different in the case of repetitious content, because YouTube looks at that when they decide whether or not to remonetize you. Is there anything that I'm missing here, guys?
I don't think so.
Basically just like, here's some other reasons. We can also help with those, but we can't help if you don't reach out to us. And in those cases, because, you know, I don't actually know, because I was going somewhere with this and then I forgot it. But in the case where you are demonetized because of reused content, repetitious content, in some cases, maybe you're violating community guidelines, you've got 30 days to reach out to us and let us know, hey, I'm working on this. And if you don't do that within 30 days, like after 30 days, we will remove your channel from the network, because we do want to make sure that it's a community of people who, you know, if YouTube demonetizes you and it turns out to be a mistake, we can work with that, but only if you're willing to like reach out and work with us. You know, if you're using our tools or resources, and you are able to be remonetized, but you're not actively trying and you're not letting us know about that, you know, at that point we will have to release you. But we give you a lot of time, so help us help you.
Very well said, Andrea. It looks like we do not have any more questions from the chat. So before we sign off, did either of you have any last points you wanted to share, go over?
No, nothing off the top of my head.
Oh, use the guides. I wrote them, most of them.
They're great guides.
They're wonderful guides. Thank you, Marley.
You're great. All right, so if you have any questions about anything that you guys saw in today's stream, or anything that you feel like you didn't get the chance to answer, feel free to send us a support email at support@frederator.com, or by creating a support ticket on your dashboard. And we will see you guys next month. Take care, have a great weekend, and remember that Frederator loves you.
Bye, everyone.